Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to day 3 of our HBCU Innovation Showcase. We will get started in about 30 seconds, so if everybody would please come to order, and we will get the program portion of our awards luncheon started. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I'm about to be like everyone else. That was dry. Good afternoon, everyone. We're on the final day of this amazing showcase. We are going to go ahead and get started. We don't want to take up, too much time. We want to just keep this going. We have some great speakers that you're going to hear from, so we want to make sure we get to them. We are going to start. We have video remarks from Derek Brent. He is the Deputy Undersecretary for Commerce for Intellectual Property, and he's also the Deputy Director of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. He unfortunately was unable to make it, but he was like, I must send a video because he was, if any of you were here in 2022, he was one of our keynotes of the closing awards ceremony, and he really loved this group. So we are going to start with a video from Deputy Director Brent, and then we'll get this going.
Good morning, everyone. I am Derek Brent, Deputy Director of the United States Patent and Trademark Office. I am happy to virtually join you all this morning and welcome you to the American Association for the Advancement of Science HBCU Innovation Showcase. Since 2018, the USPTO is proud to have partnered with AAAS to support HBCU Innovation Showcase because it represents the heart and soul of the USPTO's commitment to broadening participation in STEM and driving inclusive innovation. Progress in any of these areas depends on people seeing things in new ways, because we all bring different perspectives, different experiences, different passions, and different questions to the table. Today, as you spend some time developing professional skills to support your STEM journey, I hope you will be challenged and inspired. Challenged to harness your creativity and entrepreneurial spirit, and inspired to participate in our nation's vibrant intellectual property ecosystem. The United States remains the world leader in entrepreneurship and innovation, but others are running hard to catch up. That's why it's vital to foster greater participation in the IP ecosystem. Why it's imperative that we include more people who have been traditionally underrepresented in innovation and patenting. More people with big ideas and bright minds. More people with curiosity and creativity. More people with grit and gravitas. Each of the 20 participating teams have illustrated these characteristics at this year's showcase. I always say innovation has 4 stages: inspiration, perspiration, dedication, and celebration. As today's showcase begins, take a moment to appreciate that you've already done the 3 hardest steps. You've opened yourselves up to your big ideas. You've rolled up your sleeves and done the hard work of turning that idea into a prototype. You've persisted through challenges. Today, all that is left to do is share your hard work and celebrate it. Thank you, and we look forward to an impressive showcase.
Deputy Director Brent has some facial hair. He didn't look like that in 2022. I need a new headshot. I hope y'all took advantage of getting those headshots. Every time I look at this, I'm like, I need a new headshot. It is my pleasure. We're going to go ahead and kick off. We're going to have some remarks. You all had the pleasure of hearing from Dr. Carlita Page Anderson on our first night at our opening plenary, and it's only right that she's able to join us for our closing plenary to provide some additional remarks on behalf of the National Science Foundation. So it's my pleasure to bring up Dr. Carlita Page Anderson, Lead Program Director for the HBCU Up program at National Science Foundation.
Well, thank you again for the opportunity to be here. I greet you this afternoon on behalf of the Division Director of the Division of Equity for Excellence in STEM, STEM Education Directorate, Dr. Felicia Nave, was scheduled to be here, but she is ill. But it's okay, because I've had an amazing few days with you all, observing you, engaging with you, and hopefully inspiring you to some small extent to really take full advantage of the opportunity that you have. What I didn't mention on Friday is that I serve as the Cognizant Program Officer for the award that creates this space for you. The AAAS team who conceives on a regular basis these innovative ideas to bring students, faculty, and others who are committed to the advancement of STEM education and research at HBCUs is really remarkable. So I want to publicly thank AAAS, our lead co-PI team, Neela and Iris, for all the work that you do in implementing this project. Please, please, please join me in thanking them. It is the thought leadership of this AAAS team that, again, creates this space, but also envisions what are the strategies and opportunities that's necessary to equip you, the STEM community, with what you need to be successful. And it is my job to consider those ideas and make recommendations for investment to meet those goals. It gives me pleasure on a regular basis to be able to convene with not only the leaders of AAAS in this project, but all of the projects that are submitted to our program that are uniquely designed to advance STEM education and research in your respective areas, specifically for HBCUs. HBCU Up, the Historically Black Colleges and Universities undergraduate program, was established, or it made its first awards in 1998, and I am so pleased that for over 25 years, this program remains a legacy program at the National Science Foundation, and as the lead, I can assure you that we are strongly committed to the next 25 years and beyond to work on your behalf. So as I said Friday, you are all winners, and thank you again for having me.
Thank you so much, Carlita. So this part is what I am very excited about. We are about to have a fireside chat with two incredible individuals, human beings, that I am proud to be representing the organization of AAAS. I am, if I get emotional, because Dr. Shirley Malcolm, she has been a champion. None of us would really be sitting in this room, or we would have a program like this at AAAS if it weren't for the work of Dr. Malcolm and what she created when she first came, how many years ago to AAAS now? Many years ago. 45 years ago. 45 years ago at AAAS. And I had the pleasure of being able to work with Dr. Malcolm very closely. Our offices were right next to each other, and we would sit and talk and share stories, and I got a lot of advice, a lot of mentoring, and I can truly say that being able to stand here right now in front of you all is with thanks to not only Dr. Malcolm, but all the amazing people that I've had the pleasure of working with at AAAS. This is a fun fact. When you traditionally think of science, or even AAAS, I don't know if many of you even really knew what AAAS was prior to coming here or being a part and applying to this. But when I was growing up, I did not see people in positions like where I am, or where Dr. Malcolm or Iris or Carlita when I was growing up. And at AAAS, I have been able to work under 5 Black women as my direct directors in science, which is incredible. And so I just want to acknowledge that a lot of that is due to Dr. Malcolm identifying and saying, these are the people that I want to bring here. These are the women that I want to come and lead this work. And so it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Shirley Malcolm, whose formal title is Senior Advisor to the CEO and AAAS Director of the Sea Change Initiative at AAAS, but she is really all of our moms, grandmoms, aunties, cousins, sister, everything to us at AAAS, and we acknowledge her and thank you for. Oh.
Thank you, Neela.
Yep. And next, I will be bringing up someone who is near and dear to this space, to the HBCU space, and for what we are grateful for, because he was recently voted in as the president of AAAS, president of our board, Dr. Willie May. Dr. Willie May is he is currently AAAS president and AAAS president and the vice president of research and economic development with Morgan State University. Dr. Willie May, please come up. So we're going to spend a few minutes, Dr. Malcolm and Dr. May. We're going to do a fireside chat. So Dr. Malcolm's going to just be having some questions for Dr. May. It's going to just be a dialogue between them. As Dr. Malcolm said, a conversation between two homies, right?
This is going to be fun,
This is going to be fun. We'll follow that with a little bit of more of a moderated QA, and then we will be getting into our winners for the showcase. So please enjoy this incredible fireside chat.
Thank you. Thanks, Neela. And it's been fun watching over the years as when Neela came in as a very, very young professional, and then over the years watching her grow and watching her advance and develop and come into her own. So thank you. And thanks to Iris as well. I loved having an opportunity to bring Iris into the fold. And thanks to Travis, whom I recruited into the fold. Okay, but we are going to, Dr. May and I are going to talk, but before Dr. May and I talk, I want to say that I know that you have been given an opportunity to claim your membership to AAAS. And I want to urge you to do that. Belonging to a community of people who care about the things you care about, it's important. And I hope you understand that given the fact that you have a president like Dr. May, and our incoming president after Dr. May will be Dr. Teresa Maldonado. You see people who are committed to the same kinds of things that you're committed to, that you have an opportunity to really find your space, find your place, and to make your space. And I think that that's really exciting. As president, Dr. May, actually, this is his annual meeting coming up in February in Boston. And I would encourage those of you who can to think about coming to that meeting, because there's going to be a lot of programming that is really focused on the theme that Dr. May has put forward as president.
It's going to be fun, I promise you.
Okay, you see? And then I just wanted to alert you to the fact that I got an email day before yesterday congratulating me on my 50 years of membership in AAAS. 50 years. And somebody says, well, why do you join, and why do you belong, and why do you stay in? And Dr. May is a fellow of AAAS and has chaired the section that has dealt with industrial science. So why would we do something like that? And I think that it is because belonging to something and attaching ourselves to something where we can commit our values. Okay, I'm not going to introduce Dr. May professionally because his professional connections are in your guide. So you know about him professionally. But I have a whole bunch of disclosures that relate to Dr. May, in case there were any conflicts of interest. Number one, Dr. May and I share a hometown.
Yes. Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay? Dr. May and I shared a principal.
James S. Goodson.
Okay? He was Dr. May's elementary principal at Finley Avenue, And he was my high school principal at Carver. Okay. But until today, I did not find out one other thing. Dr. May and I,
Have birthdays 4 days apart.
okay? So, I mean, this is starting to get weird, okay? After Dr. May was the director of the National Institute of Standards and Technology and Undersecretary of Commerce, there was a period of time there when he was, as they say, ripe for the picking. And so we were able to attract him over to Morgan as Vice President for Research and Economic Development. Okay, go on.
Well, I'll have to tell you part of this story. During my last 10 years at NIST, I'm a mama's boy. I would go home to visit my mother every 6 weeks, get there on Friday and not leave until Monday midday. And I would be telling her about all of the things we were doing at NIST, the 5 Nobel Prize winners that reported to me, the fact that at that time I'd visited over 50 countries that we didn't know existed growing up there in the barracks in Birmingham, Alabama. Now Shirley knows what the barracks are. It was what people would call the ghetto or the projects. But I had a very rich childhood, but that's not the theme of the story today. So I would be telling my mother that and all these things, and she would say, Eugene, my middle name, Mama's so proud of your son. But Eugene, don't you know any colored folks? Mama, you know I know some black folks, blah, 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 I've introduced you. And she would just shake her head and smile and walk away, but clearly with pride. So after I was persuaded to take a political position, it meant that I had to leave the agency at the end of the Obama administration. So the folks at College Park, where I got my PhD and actually I served on their board, asked me, will they come home? We'll make up a nice title, give you a nice office, and you figure out what you want to do. So I went over to do that, and they made the title Director for Advanced Research and Training Initiatives, something like that. But one of my main responsibilities was entertaining high rollers at football games and basketball games. I was enjoying that big time. And after I'd been doing that for about a year, and as it turns out, it was about 10 years to the week after my mother's death, I had a dream. And my mother said something like, Eugene, when are you going to learn, son, it can't be all about you? What are you going to do to repay all of those folks who made so many sacrifices to put you in a position to do that stuff you'd like to come here to brag to me about? I wake up the next morning, as James Brown would say, in a cold sweat, and figure, I can't do this anymore. But I went to work the next day, and I still have an office at NIST as the emeritus director. They humor me. So I plan to, first of all, I've been reached out to by a number of HBCUs about their presidency. For many reasons, I didn't want to be president of anything, because at that time, I'd worked for almost 50 years, and I'm not sure I want to do that much work anymore. But I had some numbers to call. So I was going to go back to my office at NIST, I left College Park at 3 o'clock, to make some calls about these opportunities to get Mama off my back. So I'm driving, and anyone who knows this area on Route 200 from College Park back to Gaithersburg, and out of the blue, I get a phone call from David Wilson, president of Morgan State University. I'd never considered Morgan State University. I'd been, I'll name a few people, I'd been contacted by the HBCUs in Alabama about their presidency, and among a few others. So I picked up the phone. Now, I don't answer my cell phone if I don't know who's calling. But I did this time. And he said, I'm David Wilson. Dr. McCrary is leaving, and I would love you to consider coming to Morgan. I can think of no better person to take our research to the next level of ascendancy, blah, 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 blah. And to be honest, I knew he was blowing smoke on my butt. But the probability that I would get a call from the president of an HBCU the night after I'd had that dream, as I'm driving to make some calls to HBCUs, I thought was just more than a coincidence. So I get to NIST. I don't make any calls. And I decided, this is something that I should be doing. And I've been doing this now for 6 years. I thought maybe I'd do it for a year or so, because and people ask, and for 50 years, well, for 45 years and 6 months to be exact, I had a 10-minute commute to work. I moved around Gaithersburg, Maryland, but never more than 10 minutes away from NIST, because I lived there almost 7 days a week. Now I have, depending on the route I take, between 45 and 52 miles each way. So about 90 to 105 miles a day making that commute. But I'm where I should be. I come on that campus and I see kids that remind me of myself more than a half century ago, and it makes it all worth it. And again, I remember the words of my mother, Eugene, don't you know colored folks? And I guess what she was saying for me, you've been so blessed in your life. How dare you not take some time and try to give back? So I'm giving back big time.
He didn't tell you the other part of that.
At least Mr. Firestone and Mr. Goodyear think so, because I'm burning a lot of rubber.
He didn't tell you the other part, and that was that I called him and put the squeeze on it.
Yes, you did.
Because the other hat that I wear,
Yeah.
in addition to my AAAS hat, is I'm a regent at Morgan State. And I chair the committee that he reports into.
Yeah.
So in a way, this entanglement, it was fortuitous, because he was able to, I think, have some faith and confidence that the talents that he were bringing, that they were basically being appreciated, and that we think about how do we build this capacity. And that's really one of the things I wanted to kind of start in. I mean, obviously, HBCUs are well known for the fact that the institutions contribute to those who get PhDs, that the institutions contribute to the workforce, that they bring talent and diversity into the workforce. But there hasn't been as much attention to the focus on research and innovation. But now there's more of that. What do you think that potential really is for an HBCU's role in really bringing this home to the nation and as well as to our own communities?
Well, our country is facing lots of challenges. One of those challenges is increased international competition for supremacy in science, and that supports our way of life. For many years, that starting with the launching of Sputnik back when we were in elementary school.
Yes, that's how we got here.
Yeah. That was lots. When the Russians did that, it scared the bejesus out of this country as a nation, and we built the best public university system on the face of the planet. And some of the smartest minds from around the world came here to be educated, And at that time, the places that they were coming from typically had a lower standard of living than we had in the U.S. And many of those folks stayed here and made their career and contributed to our society, our economy, etc. Over the last 10 to 15 years, that trend has changed. Many of those folks are going back home now. So it is certainly fair to give equal opportunities to folks that look like me and Shirley. But forget about fairness. It is a national imperative because of international competitiveness, because we are folks who don't have a home to go back to. So we're going to be here. And everyone is beginning to see that now. I mean, one of the taglines now is the missing millions. Well, you are part of those missing millions that this country is going to depend on to support its global competitiveness going forward. And we at HBCUs do a better job of nurturing this talent than PWIs. And the reason for that is that HBCUs were not formed to be research entities. Some of us are deciding to take this on now. We were established typically back in the 1870s to provide education, 1860s or 70s, to recently freed slaves. And that is part of our mission. So as we want to ascend to research, tier 1 research universities, we can't do that and lose our soul. We still have to provide that education that's needed to sometimes make up for remedial, for public school systems that quite frankly have failed people. So how you score on the SAT and exams like that is not a sign of how intelligent you are or how capable you are. It's a sign of what you've been exposed to. So HBCUs, again, find folks where they are and take them to where they need to be to contribute to our society, and as we say at Morgan, explore the future and lead the world. That's what HBCUs do better than anyone else. Sorry for the long-winded answer.
You're absolutely right. It is for the future, and so you're working on one side from the administrative side, and I'm working on the other side from the governance side. Mm-hmm. But there is an agreement on those sides that, in fact, that what we have in terms of building the research capacity and supporting innovation, that this basically the benefits accrue to the state, to the community, to the locality. I know that there was a study that was commissioned about the value of Morgan within that community, and I think that the work that was done by those consultants said that it was about $1 billion.
So it was about 1.1 billion, and we're in the process of repeating that study. And preliminary numbers are going to come out around between 1.5 and 1.8 billion dollars this year.
It's a non-trivial contribution within the communities, and I think that I think about all the institutions that are here that similarly are making contributions within their communities. But I want to ask you, because you and I struggle together around the challenges. What are some of the challenges that you see, that you have encountered, and what are some of the ones that you see in the future in terms of being able to actually attain that kind of research level without losing our soul that we really need to do?
Well, the most obvious thing is funding. HBCUs don't get their fair share of support from the federal government. Back in 2010, HBCUs were getting less than 0.5% collectively of the funding that went into supporting research in higher education. And that only decreased during the next 10 years. However, I am happy to say that over the last 5 years, there's been an uptick. Maybe we are approaching about 1% now, but collectively we're not getting anywhere close to what we should be getting our pro rata share. In fact, one Case Western Reserve alone gets as much research funding from the federal government as all of the HBCUs combined in 2010. Hopefully, that is not true now, that we collectively exceed Case Western Reserve. But certainly, since HBCUs are providing such a contribution to the intellectual talent that we need to be competitive internationally, it is in our country's strategic interest to provide a fair portion of support for HBCUs, to put them in position to educate and provide the research experiences that we need to do to prepare our citizenry to be prepared to contribute to our competitive position within the world.
Yeah, it's very difficult when we haven't had the resources. We think about, we haven't had the buildings, we haven't had the instrumentation, and doing science now is expensive.
It's not cheap.
And so the kinds of things that we haven't necessarily have, in some cases they can come along through partnership, but partnerships are often more difficult for HBCUs because people want our names on their proposals, but not necessarily passing the resources or having the kind of power to enable the direction of the work.
Yeah. Surely the thing that has really helped us is it started with the directive that I got from our president based on what you told him. And that was that perhaps we should assemble a blue ribbon panel to give us input as to how we should grow our research enterprise at Morgan. And our president says, Dr. May, and it was about the same time that the HBCUs in the state of Maryland had won this long contested lawsuit against the state of Maryland. So initially this thing was, Dr. May, I want you to put together a group to give us some advice on how we can invest that money, not spend it. But as it turned out, we didn't have to touch any of that money. Once the charge to that panel was to look across the landscape and look at those technologies that everyone agrees that whatever country leads in this area will lead the world. And so the charge was to look at some very narrow windows in those larger areas where with the right support that Morgan could be among the national leaders, period, not among HBCUs. And so that panel that we convened, first of all, we had to get people that folks would listen to. So we had a former Nobel Prize winner, a former National Medal of Science winner, a former National Medal of Technology member, 3 other National Academy members among that 12-member panel. And they came back with a report from us that has 5 major priorities. The number 1 recommendation was that we establish a program, artificial intelligence and equitable artificial intelligence and machine learning. Because Maryland has more coast per unit area than any state in the country, one of their recommendations was a focus on coastal science and policy. And there were 3 other recommendations. I won't try to give them all. But essentially what we've done, then is taking, over the last several years, we've taken from that report and made requests to the governor. And we now have 8 state-supported centers. So we've had our budget augmented by $22 million to establish these national research centers in cutting-edge areas. And we've also brought in over 50 new faculty members across all of our schools to focus in these areas. So this has begun to put us in a place so that we can compete, so that we can collaborate with, because at HBCUs, many of the folks who went to HBCUs many years ago went there because they had an insatiable desire to train young black minds. They didn't go there to be research, and we can't try to force them to do stuff that they now are not good at least it wouldn't be wise. So from these centers, we've been able to bring in a new cadre of faculty who have interest in research. And we're bringing them in. We're giving them reduced teaching loads because, again, you can't expect people to do research if they have to teach 4 to 6 courses a semester. So we've given them reduced teaching loads, and we are going to evaluate them how well they establish and conduct their research programs. For folks that we have who came to Morgan because they wanted to provide this education to be great teachers, we don't want to try to force them to something they probably are not capable of doing well. So we are not going to give them reduced teaching loads, but we're going to find a way to reward them based on how well they actually provide instruction for our students. So we're trying to take a more enlightened look at how we evaluate our faculty, but also provide educational and research experience in cutting-edge areas. And our centers now are being sought out for by collaboration across the country. NSF, NIH, many of some of the top universities in the country. So we are beginning to become this well-known, well-respected research university. What we feel that we have to do as we are ascending to becoming an R1 university.
You know, one of the things that I just have a couple more things before I turn it over to the community to also query you. One of the things I've been very impressed with is the fact that the kind of recognition that is now being given to people who are involved in innovation. I know that you have awards that you give to faculty, and you have a very active patenting structure now, and I am pleased to say that Morgan is within the top 100 institutions that basically have patents.
Yep.
And that you are hanging out in the same region as Clemson and other institutions, but with a fraction of the research funding that is actually going in there.
Well, we are ranked number 93 across the country now, so we are the first HBCU to ever be listed in the top 100. And if you look at our output per research dollar, we are number 1. That is, we're getting more bang for our buck. Now, I'm not sure that's going to scale as we continue with our research expenditures, because when that study was done, we had around $30 million in research expenditures, and next year we're probably going to more than double that. So I'm not sure that's going to scale, but we are still when I joined the university, and I can't take credit for this, I have to give all the credit to Mr. Wayne Swan, who oversees that part of our research program. But Morgan had, in 2015, and I arrived in 2008, Morgan had 0 patents awarded. This year we have a cumulative total of 36. 13 over the last year, and we are having a disclosure reported every 18 days. So we have been able, now obviously most of those patents, and we've had 13 companies that have been spun off based on the research that our students and faculty do. Of those companies, they all involve former Morgan students and faculty. So we are beginning to realize that HBCUs historically has seen it as their responsibility to take black folks to the middle class. So we think having a very aggressive innovation entrepreneurship program is important. And fortunately, we're able to do that as we continue to focus on research. So in addition to that, we are trying to teach our students the value of discovery and entrepreneurship and of creating businesses and wealth in the black community.
Well, we're going to turn to our audience for any questions that you might have for Dr. May, but I will say, and as I sat here while you were coming to the mic, I will say that as I have sat here this morning, we don't lack for good ideas from our institutions and from our students. We don't lack for good ideas. It's a matter of how do we, in fact, stimulate that and then move it to the next level. And so that's one of the reasons that I am such a big fan, and I thank NSF. Among the many hats that I have worn, it has been that one of a member of the National Science Board. And and in that regard, I am very proud of the delivering on broader impacts as well as intellectual merit. Any questions from the audience?
Well, let me make one other statement. For all of you young folks, always be prepared when you come. I was told that I would be coming to give a plenary address. So I went home last night and prepared my piece of paper. I haven't been able to use it at all. So,
Which
so,
you have, you
so,
will, if you look at it, you have used every bit of it.
Maybe.
Okay.
But always be prepared to converse on the subject matter and be prepared for to communicate with people. That's what this is all about, communication, and it takes many, many forms.
Okay.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience. It's really enlightening to hearing that Morgan is now on the top 100 in the patent. This is really great. So actually, it's very relevant to this community. As we think about the patents and technologies, there are so many good ideas, but getting them to patenting and protection is a key. Can you tell us what was the challenge of getting Morgan to that stand? Because I know many of our colleagues are eager to know that.
I guess the challenge was getting our faculty to understand that they could really do it. Now, fortunately, we have, as head of our intellectual property function, the fellow who created that function at the University of Maryland, College Park, and the same at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory. So my predecessor was able to convince him to come to Morgan, and I've been lucky enough to convince him to stay.
Okay, there's over here.
Thank you very much for the talk.
Oh, and the other thing that we do is we have accumulated some funds from redistribution of IDC to actually have a small venture capital fund. So we actually support our faculty in going and developing their ideas. So we provide them, we have maybe $500,000 or so now that we've accumulated that we can invest in the faculty to actually think about conceptualizing a disclosure.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for the talk. Actually, it was very enlightening. I was going to ask the question that she asked. That was one. So you've answered that. And the other question I was going to ask was, you mentioned a number of like Nobel laureates that have come out of AAAS, and I've never heard that amount of them coming out from one particular institution. So it was incredible. I just wanted to know, can foreign nationals work at AAAS like after college?
Okay, I guess I didn't talk about the number of Nobel Fellows that are part of AAAS. I guess the 5 Nobel Prize winners that I was talking about actually worked at the National Institutes of Standards and Technology when I was director. So, but we do have a number of Nobel Prize winners that are members of AAAS.
And our leadership.
And yes, in fact, actually hosted one a few months ago who actually came to interact with AAAS, and I actually took him out to my old agency, NIST, and let him converse with some of our Nobel Prize winners there. So, but the Nobel Prize winners I was talking about was the old agency that I used to lead, not in AAAS per se, although we have a number of Nobel laureates. I cannot give you a number. Could you, Travis, Shirley?
Yeah, over the years, I mean, Steve Chu,
Yeah.
David Baltimore, Sherry Rowland. I mean, it's not uncommon to have people at that level in leadership roles and for sure within membership roles at AAAS. And so it is an important part of what belonging to the scientific community represents. That's the way it is.
So I'll take it as an assignment to find out the number of Nobel Prize winners that we have as a part of our membership, as well as the number of National Medal of Science and National Medal of Technology winners. And we'll find that way to post that information so everyone can see that.
My name is Latane Brackett. I'm a proud graduate of Norfolk State University, and I've also interned twice at the National when it was the National Bureau of Standards.
Yes.
Building 37, the reactor building.
Okay.
You talked about.
So that had to be a few years ago.
That was a few years ago.
But that was after we moved to Gaithersburg.
Yes, at Gaithersburg, Maryland, and I actually stayed with the family that worked at Gaithersburg.
What years were you were talking about?
I think it was probably somewhere in 87.
Okay.
86, 87.
Okay.
What you've been speaking of is really a significant change in the culture at Morgan. And changing the culture starts with changing the language. And I noted here today that I have not heard you speaking in a language of lack. So could you kind of talk about, how did you change the culture there to get where you're going on the trajectory that you're going now? Because I think a lot of the problem that we have a lot of times is we keep talking about what we don't have as opposed to how we're going to get to where we need to go.
Well, you asked me, so I'll give it to you. Willie may speak. First of all, I don't believe in losing. I assume that anything I get involved in, I'm going to be successful. Not because I'm smarter than everyone else, because I'm willing to put in the work that it takes to get to where I need to be, and in this case, the organization needs to be. So one of the things that happens, I think, that holds HBCUs apart is, I'll just say, inbreeding. I think sometimes we need someone to come in with fresh ideas, who have seen things done in a slightly different way. And I won't say that way is always better, but see a different way and convince the folks to at least listen to that. I won't say follow your lead, but at least listen to that. One of the first things I did to try to gain some credibility at Morgan is I said, I can bring folks to you that perhaps you haven't been here. So I've had 3 of my former Nobel Prize winners come to Morgan to give lectures. One is now in adjunct faculty. and is coming once a week to offer an Oxford-like experience to our physics majors. So again, let's do some innovative things to make our professors and make our students feel that they're special. We're doing you something, we're offering you something that other folks don't have. And to give our students confidence that they can be successful in whatever they endeavor to do if they're willing to put in the work.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Johan Zhang. I'm from North Carolina A&T. So I joined A&T 3 years ago. This is my third year at A&T, but previously I worked for South Dakota State University. So I have a simple but maybe a critical question to you, especially you as a high admission role in Morgan State. So for most of the HBCUs, including A&T, it's harder for the young faculty to stay there because they do not hire the husband for the wife or do not hire the wife for the husband. So that's a critical issue and make a lot of my colleagues left. So I would want to get some advice from you how Morgan will address this question. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question? I didn't quite.
Yeah, do hire, yeah.
Why? How are we able to
Yeah.
not only attract the new hires but get them to stay?
Yeah.
Well, I can't speak to the last yet because we're just on this new hiring boom. So we've been doing this the last 2 or 3 years, but we get them to believe in our vision. For example, when our president went public about 4 or 5 years ago, that said he expected by 2030, and actually we're on track to do this by 2027, Morgan to be a Tier 1 research university, R1. A lot of folks were thinking, what the heck has he been smoking? Me being one. But again, that became a rallying cry. And right now on all of our campus, everyone is talking about, I can do this, and I'm doing this because it's going to help us become R1. Now, a lot of those things that they're doing have nothing to do with the R1 criteria, but they do have to do with things that will move us forward as a well-recognized, well-respected research university. So one of the things you can do is develop some sense of camaraderie, some single cause that we are working toward together. The other thing is, the thing that we've done is reduce teaching load for the research faculty, returned indirect costs back to the folks who are getting the grants so that they can do other things, so that we invest in them. And also the thing that I've done is convinced our president to increase the size of the infrastructure that we have in place to support our researchers. For example, when I arrived 6 years ago, I was astonished to find that we were asking our faculty, who were teaching 4 courses each semester, to go out and get more involved in research. And if they were successful in getting a grant, we penalized them because we gave them no support to carry out that research. So we've actually grown so I've convinced our staff in our research division that we are not there to do research ourselves. We are there to be servants and support the research community. So our number one job is to provide customer service, if you will, and work with the research community to assist them in managing their grants.
Thank you so much. This
Let's
concludes
thank
our
Dr. May.
fireside chat.
Thank Dr. May so much for his coming and visiting with us. And if you may have some questions that he will answer little bit later, and I will give this back to Iris.
Thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause.
Can we give another round of applause to Dr. Shirley Malcolm and Dr. Willie May for a great discussion? All right, we are now about to get into the meat of the program, the things that you all have been waiting for. We will be soon announcing our Showcase Award winners for 2024, but this year we wanted to do something different that we hadn't done in the past, and we wanted to make sure that we acknowledged all of our faculty advisors. So I know everyone's kind of tired, but I need you all to stand up and please give a round of applause to your faculty advisors for all the work that they have done. We thank you all. We know that this is, not a paid opportunity for you all. This is done out of the love for your students, out of the support of what they're doing. And we acknowledge that. We acknowledge you all. And we actually, this year, have 3 acknowledgement awards that we want to provide to our faculty advisors. So the first 2 are to acknowledge advisors who have been consistent. We see them year after year after year, literally since this inception since this first started. So I would like to call up Dr. Velma Latson from Bowie State University. And I know you all have seen him with his camera in his hand all day, taking pictures yesterday, on Friday, on Thursday. Dr. Richard Whittington from Tuskegee University. And then we have one more Faculty Acknowledgement Award. And this one I know is very meaningful to a lot of the students in here. Little Rock, Arkansas is not the first place you think of when you think of innovation. However, during the time that Dr. Suzanne Anwar has participated, she has consistently churned out winners from Philander Smith University. And so we wanted to acknowledge you for having the most winners throughout the duration of the showcase. So Dr. Suzanne Anwar from Philander Smith University. But also just calling out again, Dr. Mitra, Dr. Pearson, Kylan, I know you served as the faculty advisor for your team, Dr. Ibrahim, Dr. Jang, who else am I missing? Dr. Caraway, Dr. Williams, Dr. Wilkins. Dr. Wilkins had the first place team in 2021 for North Carolina A&T State University. And if I'm missing anyone, I apologize. Dr. Hunter from Morgan State University. Dr. Thomas from Fisk University wasn't able to come, but just want to, again, thank you all. You all have been such an important part of this. These students would not have been able to do this without you all. So thank you. So, oh, Dr. Brackett, Dr. Latani Brackett, who was talking, who served as a replacement for Dr. Russell at Jackson State. So thank you all. All right. We are now going to get into our awards. So this has been, every year, this is probably, while most exciting, probably the most challenging part of the showcase, because each time you all step up here, we look at where you all started just with that PDF that you submitted back in January, then with that video pitch that you shared, and it's like, okay, they're getting it, they understand. But then some of you all are like, we're putting in the efforts, they're taking the e-mentoring, they're listening to some of the advice that's given, they're coming into office hours and things that are offered. And I just want to say that, and this is no offense to Sam and Raquel, we love you. But it was noted that these teams this year were incredible. Not that the past teams weren't, but really just a kudos to you all. The judges were blown away with what you all came up here and shared, and I couldn't agree more. Every year I'm just blown away by the talent that our students are coming up with. So without further ado, we are going to start, and before I get into that, it's an awkward pause, but I want to say that each year, and this is no different this year, between the first or the highest ranked team and the team that's, and I'm not going to say lowest ranked because I don't believe in that, but the difference in points was only 12 points. And the difference between first and like the fourth place were tenths of a point. So we're not talking about, huge gaps. Everyone is so, it's incredible. You were, in different areas, you all should just pat yourselves on the back with how incredible you all have done. So, and then, because, thank you, first time ever we had a tie for third place. It was just, we could not decide, and it was like, well, why don't we just try to do two teams? Well, let's do that. So this year, we have 2 third place winners, and the first team that I will announce is Team Feast Forward from Philander Smith University. Yes, so, yep, we're mindful. And then our third place winning team, and I'm like heartbroken because they literally just walked out the door, but the Care on Demand team from Morehouse College is the third place team. So Kylan is their faculty advisor, so I would love for him to accept the award on their behalf. Yes. Thank you. And now for our second place team. Very excited. This team worked very hard. They spent a lot of time and definitely reached out. Very proud to announce that the second place team is the team from Morgan State University. Microbial fuel cells, embedded constructed wetlands for sustainable wastewater treatment. Congratulations, y'all. Thank you. I'm from DC, so I was about to hit the, the go-go. And so now I am very, very, very excited to announce our first place winner. Before I announce them, because I just got to keep that edge going. Again, to every single team that participated, and this is wholeheartedly from myself, from Iris, and all of the members of the judges, you all were incredible. Every single one of you worked so hard, and we will be making efforts to reach out to all of you to ensure you knew how well you all did with this. Please know that because this is year 2, we are going to pour into the continuation of the work that you're doing. So this doesn't stop here. This is just to continue to support you all and to continue to see that what you're starting with your innovations continues. And without further ado, our first place winner from North Carolina A&T State University, IPAVE. With the Frankie Beverly. I love it.
Congratulations. Congratulations, congratulations. You don't have to thank me, y'all did it. Smile. Neela, do you want to announce? Do you want to tell faculty advisors or how do you?
No. Yes. Our Morgan State team must have been caught as they were walking out, so we want to give them a round of applause. I'm sorry? Morehouse. Who did I say? Morgan State? My bad. Dr. Willie May is in here, so you're influencing my conversation. Our third place team, Care on Demand from Morehouse College. So students, just really quickly, we have certificates because, again, we appreciate all the participation that you all have done. So you can come up to this front table if you would like to grab your certificate before you leave. Just come on up. We have them with the teams. But before you do that, very quickly, Iris is going to give final remarks before we close out, and then don't forget to claim your membership. Membership table is there. Faculty members need to complete their surveys. Nina in the back is waving down the QR code that you need to complete. Go ahead, Iris. Oh, they have to switch it.
That's for your third place. For all of them.
And then just each.
Look at the state.
I will amend my remarks. I just want to acknowledge our entire AAAS team. First, I just like to say it's been an honor to co-lead this effort with Neela White. We have a very small team and we do a lot of hard work. So there are a lot of people behind the scenes. So I just want to acknowledge Janice Lim, stand up, Erica Wood, Claire Malloy, please stand up. I also want to acknowledge our AAAS leadership who is always supportive of our efforts. Sudit Parikh, Julia McKenzie, Travis York, Suzanne Thurston, Elise Mendez, Janaea Thompson, and also our fabulous external evaluation team. If you're here, please stand up. Kavita Mitapali, Nina De Las Alas, Debbie Igumbor. I also would like everyone to just please acknowledge this amazing, amazing staff here at the Hyatt. Everyone that we've worked with, all of the servers, all of the banquet staff. Please make sure you complete the surveys. So we definitely want to make sure you complete the surveys today for sessions that were held today. So there's one for faculty and one for students. I'm not sure if we have QR codes on the tables, but please make sure you take a few minutes to complete these surveys. This helps us to show impact and results. So please make sure that you complete the session surveys. To learn more about our impact, please visit our impact report. And before we adjourn, I want to thank you all for your hard work. We have been inspired and encouraged, and we are hopeful for the future and confident for the future because of you. So before we adjourn, again, we are hopeful and confident in the future because of you all. We wish you well. And I'll just end with Ty's comment yesterday, go out in the world and be brilliant. We are adjourned for the 2024 AAAS HBCU Innovation Showcase. Safe travels. Thank you.